Now, you don't have to believe me. You can fast forward past this. You cannot even watch this. But if you know me, you hear the tone of my voice, if you look at me in my eyes while I'm speaking this or while I be reading this, there's no wavering in my truth that I'm delivering. So I'm putting this out here so somebody may connect with what I'm saying. They may have somebody else that may have experienced certain things like this, or maybe not. But they can connect with what I'm saying, and they can offer some insight, shed some light, or just be blessed and become more aware where they are in their walk or their journey. Because right now in these days and times, if you're not becoming more aware, if you're not becoming spiritually awakened, if you're not spiritually awakened yet, you are in a bad spot. If you haven't heard the calling, the beckoning of the universe, just for you to find out who you are, just to have knowledge of self, because I believe I was being screamed at by the universe, just to realize who I am. Now, who I am? Nobody. In the big scheme of things, I'm not, I'm Michael. You feel me?
The King, the Bluff Road Studios. Across the land, over the river, there once lived a nigga. Small figures, mind bigger. His brain trigger when changing the situation. Meaning mind state became prime real estate in my evaluation. His personification like one thug facing the nation, knowing no Haitian in his heart. It was love for the music from the start that made the dark scene tameable. Fly bitches scheming, trainable. Police who like to plant the yoke couldn't pick them up, they had to let them go. My story flow might fluctuate, but this young G stood at the gates. With back turn when souls burn, head hell where G's dwell. Watch his game swell up to the size of an eyes of a hater that seen his demise. On the streets that we ride, we're heart full of pride, having peace by your side, walking through dark in search of the light. If I was up today, so heaven to mile away, should I leave, should I stay? If I was up today, so heaven to mile away, cause I got something to say. If I was up today, so heaven to mile away, should I leave, should I stay? If I was up today, so heaven to mile away, cause I got something to say.
If I wait today and heaven was a mile away, should I go or should I stay? I got a couple of questions today, but I'm not supposed to question why. Alpha Omega, I respect that, but the fact still remains. You took my brother to your kingdom when I really needed him. I miss him. What makes a boy a man is the lessons he learned. My dad taught me a few. He lived within my family, outcast at the same time. Drama I deal with daily, times is shaded for a G. Please believe me. If I wait today and heaven was a mile away, I don't know if I go or will I stay. You heard me, but I know I find salvation in myself and stay worthy.
If I woke up today, so heaven a mile away, should I leave or should I stay? If I woke up today, so heaven a mile away, cause I got something to say. If I woke up today, so heaven a mile away, should I leave or should I stay? If I woke up today, so heaven a mile away, cause I got something to say.
I titled this The Anakim Crowning. The Anakim. The reason I said Anakim was because that what was told to me. That's the knowing that was bestowed upon me. Now, I know that other people may say other words like Anunnaki and shit like that. And that's what I've heard. But when I said that's what the knowing that was bestowed upon me, when I seen and when I came in contact with these beings, that was imparted on my spirit and being. And it was funny because I later found out that's an ancient name for them. The Anakim.
The Anakim/Anakites were a formidable race of giant, warlike people. Deuteronomy 2 verses 10 and 21, 9:2. Who occupied the lands of southern Israel near Hebron before the arrival of the Israelites, Joshua 15 verse 13. The Anakim's ancestry has been traced back to Anak, the son of Arba, Joshua 15 verse 13, 21:11, who at that time was regarded as the greatest man among the Anakim, Joshua 14 verse 15. The name Anakim most likely means long-necked, i.e., tall. The Hebrews thought them to be descendants of the Nephilim, a powerful race who dominated the pre-flood world, Genesis 6 verse 4, Numbers 13:33. When the 12 Israelite spies returned from exploring the Promised Land, they gave a frightening report of people great and tall whom they identified as the sons of Anak, Deuteronomy 9 verse 2. The Israelites, seized with fear and believing themselves to be mere grasshoppers in their sight, Numbers 13:33, rebelled against God, Deuteronomy 1 verses 26 to 28, and refused to enter the land God had promised them. The Israelites were exhorted by Moses. Deuteronomy 1 verse 19, not to fear the Anakim, but they refused to trust God's promises, Deuteronomy 1 verses 32 to 33. As a result, God became angry, Deuteronomy 1 verses 34 to 39, and prohibited the evil generation from entering the Promised Land. Joshua and Caleb were the only exceptions, Deuteronomy 1 verses 35 to 36. Because of their fear of the Anakim and their rebellion against God, the children of Israel were forced to wander for another 38 years in the wilderness. During the conquest of Canaan, Joshua expelled the Anakim from the hill country, and Caleb finally drove them out of Hebron completely. However, a small remnant found refuge in the cities of Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod, Joshua 11 verse 22. Many Bible scholars speculate that the Anakim's descendants were the Philistine giants David encountered, 2 Samuel 21 verses 15 to 22, including Goliath of Gath, 1 Samuel 17 verses 4 to 7.
Alright, so the sky was primarily blue and fairly clear as we started work this morning. As the clouds began to file past me and meet me at my 12 high noon, I don't know why I wrote it like that, 12 high noon, meaning it would file, the clouds would file past me in the sky, right? I'm sitting in my crane, this is my crane right here, and the clouds are flying on this side of the crane and that side of the crane in the sky, right? But when they come at 12 high noon, so they would come and it would come center, you know what I'm saying? We looking in the sky right there, right? The sun was shining and causing the sensation of vibrational energies. I then noticed what I can only describe as two Star Wars speedsters in cloud form along with two Mad Max warrior riders. One standing facing me while the other was sitting ready to take off. In all my viewings of different cloud realms and entities, this was something I'd never seen. The detail and clarity and outline were what I called out, but still in the cloud form with phasing and shifting energy. Until I focused on the rider standing at my 12 face and requested to see him with my focus and intent on that. And his face appeared looking rather stoic with an air about himself as an official introducer to whatever was about to occur. So let me stop right there. Okay. This day, from following that other day, it was already foretold to me in my spirit that it was going to be one of the greatest days of my life. And as I continue reading, you're going to see so. As my day begins, I'm in the field in this crane. We're putting up. I think we're taking stuff out of structure and stuff like that. We got a work crew. I'm working. It's the only little crane. I'm on a 15-ton crane. If you know anything about cranes, and the clouds come. The cloud crafts, they start kind of filing by in the clouds, right? Then at 12 o'clock high in the sky, there's this figure on. I shit you not. It looked like a speedster out of Star Wars. There's one being on the speedster ready to go, and another being standing up with a scarf or something around his face. But he's looking, when I say stoic, he's looking like real official, real warrior type, and he's looking. There aren't any words being spoken. There is only a vibration in my mind and a knowing, right? I'm gonna get to this. As I seen this figure, the knowing and the wording was, "Are you ready?" Michael. I attempted to ask a question. Now, all of this is happening within my mind. You can call me crazy, you can call me whatever. To those of you who know, you know. It is a knowing. So I attempted to ask a question when I was stopped immediately by this voice in my spirit, head, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And it let me know straight up, why are you asking them anything? You don't know them. They don't know you. You wouldn't be here unless you had the knowing to begin with. So you don't need to ask anything. They are here to show you. And you are here to receive. 14 minutes. As my attention was diverted for a couple of seconds by my coworker, I turned back and the speedsters and riders were gone. I expected this, although the clouds and entities moved as if sailing on a lazy river in a water park. With focus and intent to clarify your perspective, I could make out fluid movements being made, but distorted as if the sync-up times of the two realms' vibrational density could not match up. Listen to what I said. I could make out the fluid movement being made, but distorted as if the sync-up times of the two realms' vibrational density could not match up. As more entities came through on the sailing winds into my perspective, I asked, "What do you call yourselves?" And from no particular entity answering, a single voice rang out in my consciousness, "Anarchy!" I say it like that because that's the way it was important to me, the anarchy. As I allowed this to enter my overstanding, it became more apparent as the size and stature of the Anakim increased gradually and greatly throughout the day. The Anakim varied greatly in size from crafts and looks. There was floating heads, multiple heads in pyramids and other crafts. There were crafts that appeared to be creatures and carriage driven and operated to motorbike handle, throne seats similar in looks to the flying throne of Thanos, but sitting on a cloud. There were a few occasions when my focus and intentions to peer into someone's cloaking would cause that entity to completely freeze, even to the point of two creatures pulling a carriage would not let me unlock them, and my focus and intent seemed to cause them to immediately put their face to the ground, appearing almost as if their heads were buried. I want to stop right there.
In this room, I ain't talking about no I did drugs and went off and had a vision. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about from me, my body, right there.
Yeah.
At the throne of God. 2 days in a row, this happened to me.
Wow.
During that time when I was fasting. First time I was there, I saw it was like ambassadors from every species. That's why I don't just say all brothers and sisters and all living species, because it was like every living species. I seen things that could have killed me, crushed me, but they were scared. They had their head bowed. I never saw what they looked like. I just saw like the kind of like silhouette of it, and I was scared to death because it was new. I ain't understand it.
Yeah.
And the second time I went, they had lifted up, and I sit where they were sitting, and it was like they had bestowed a responsibility on me.
And what was that responsibility?
To live in my spirit and truth.
Others and ancient ones, that they were when he would look at them, they would put their face to the ground. And when he said that, that's what I'm like, my God, he's experienced this. There's something about the power in our eyes that they couldn't take. And when I was looking, because these clouds are coming through, but these clouds are cloaked. They cloaked. Don't think like, you know what I'm saying, these are cloaked. They are cloaked. But whatever time this was, whatever I was given to be allowed, there was like a field or something that would come over my eyes. It would be like a spectrum of light, and it would be like purple, blue, and all kind of different color shades, and it would just like come over my eyes, and I was allowed to pierce that whatever cloaking it was. And once I could pierce it, I can feel their pull against me to allow me to pierce into it. But I was allowed to see all. Now some of them I could feel it was a real pain, it was a real travesty to them. But those, what I just spoke of, those creatures, when they put their head in the ground, they just like, oh well shit, they cannot deny me. I can't be denied. There was a pull. Let me get back to reading it so I can get back right. But that was allowed. I can pierce through whatever veil that's put in front of us, because it is a veil. It is a veil. I can pierce through it, and I can see these beings, these cloud beings, these beings. They are there. They are here. The Anakim. All right. As this movement and migration of these Anakim persisted, I was able to witness families in different crafts, even to the extent of smaller Anakim playing. Smiles were present at times, along with looks of non-concern and an irritance, which if I so chose, I could disrupt with my request and intention to unlock and view what I chose. Sometimes I chose not to overexhaust, especially since I sensed the discomfort it placed the entity in as I decloaked it. This particular Anakim with just a very luminous floating head with a very feminine appearance drew my intent and focus, and was not cloaked. As I peered her way, I noticed the spirit cloaked around this floating head. I then asked about its presence, and it decloaked, then took off and out of view at a very, very fast rate and speed. To which this movement triggered the imagery of my memory of this piece of a spirit moving behind cloud coverage very fast, but still being visualized out of the corners of my eyes. That had been happening weeks ago up until this day. Now being connected with the knowing of this, I begin to witness at different movements. I begin to witness at different moments of something moving at almost an imperceptible rate of travel. After lunch, I moved my crane into another position to continue with the work that was being done. Because all the while this is happening, I'm working. I'm carrying on conversations and having to go about my daily while heaven is being unlocked. Let that one sink in. Heaven. I don't know what you call heaven, but I'm literally at work watching sky people travel and having to have my full mind about myself while I'm witnessing these things. I want that to can it resonate with somebody? After lunch, I moved my crane into another position to continue with the work we were doing. This is when I saw this hulking figure on the cloud throne, truck craft, with trailer and envoy, attack party and entourage, by the entrance and introduction to my perception and spirit. Now, I know I said a lot right there, but let me rewind that back, or let me give it to you in terms. After seeing, it was like a parade, right? And I call this the crowning of the anti-king. I've experienced something like this before, but it wasn't with cloud people, it was with real people, right? But that was by my perception. I was off in Mississippi one time, and I had something happen, and it just, to me, it felt and looked as if it was a crowning. So there's this parade of cloud crafts, heaven. I'm being allowed to perceive the sky, not as we know it, not as we see it, but as it is. Being allowed to see this, and there's this figure. The scene of Thanos, when Thanos is on that chair, on that throne, in one of the Avenger movies, I can't remember what it wasn't the one when he first laughed, the first Avengers movie, it wasn't that one. It might have been the second one, but he's on, yeah, I think it's the second one, might have been Ultron. And he's on the chair, and he comes, and he's, you know what I'm saying, the chair is like a throne, but it's like a space throne. He's moving through space and shit like that. You kind of see him all decked out and shit. That's the only way I can kind of put this into what I was perceiving to be. But peep this out. Peep this out. This is when I saw this hulking figure on the cloud throne, truck craft with trailer and envoy, attack party and entourage, by the entrance and introduction to my perception and spirit. The cloaking was that of a large lion. And when I focused, the cloak fell and the face seemed to separate, with one face staying in place and the other moving around on a pivot of such as to not look at me directly. When inquiring into the name of this imposing character to myself, because I can't ask any questions. There's no questions I can ask. When I say ask, not with my mouth, with intent. With intent. Because everything is off a spirit, as it should be. So as I'm asking myself with intent, who is this? Because he appears to be the boss of all this shit.
Marduk, cuneiform, Damar.utu, Sumerian, Amar Utu.k calf of the sun, solar calf, Greek Mu Alpha Rho Delta Omicron Chi Alpha Omicron, 2, Mardukaios, was a late generation god from ancient Mesopotamia and patron deity of the city of Babylon. When Babylon became the political center of the Euphrates Valley in the time of Hammurabi, 18th century BC, he slowly started to rise to the position of the head of the Babylonian pantheon, a position he fully acquired by the second half of the second millennium BC. In the city of Babylon, Marduk was worshipped in the temple Esagila. Marduk is associated with the divine weapon Imhalu. Marduk is the Babylonian form of his name. 3. The name Marduk was probably pronounced Marutuk. 4. The etymology of the name Marduk is conjectured as derived from Amar Utu, bull calf of the sun god Utu. 3. The origin of Marduk's name may reflect an earlier genealogy, or have had cultural ties to the ancient city of Sippar, whose god was Utu, the sun god, dating back to the 3rd millennium BC. 5. By the Hammurabi period, Marduk had become astrologically associated with the planet Jupiter. 6. In the case of Ea, the transfer proceeded pacifically and without effacing the older god. Marduk took over the identity of Asarluhi, the son of Ea and god of magic, so that Marduk was integrated in the pantheon of Eridu, where both Ea and Asarluhi originally came from. Ea, Marduk's father, voluntarily recognized the superiority of the sun and hands over to him the control of humanity. This association of Marduk and Ea, while indicating primarily the passing of the supremacy once enjoyed by Eridu to Babylon as a religious and political center, may also reflect an early dependence of Babylon upon Eridu, not necessarily of a political character but, in view of the spread of culture in the Euphrates Valley from the south to the north, the recognition of Eridu as the older center on the part of the younger one. Powers/abilities/Tachinks. Marduk's original character is obscure, but he was later associated with water, vegetation, judgment, and magic. Powers of Ea, god of wisdom, magic, and incantations, Asarluhi, god of magic, and Enlil, god of wind, air, earth, and storms. Future sight. Necromancy. Fire manipulation. Divine shout. Lightning throwing. Flood. Wind creation. Earth manipulation. Gravity manipulation. Lava manipulation. Equipment. Imhalu, the divine wind sphere divine net. Mace. Bow/arrows. Marduk's chariot. Tablets of destiny over humans. Acid bottles.
Don't nothing seem to be moving like that. When I say envoy and entourage, there were women and children. It looked like something out of Mad Max. It looked like one of those imposing bosses in Mad Max with all the women and that's what it appeared. You could tell they were warriors. There was weapons. Had to be, from what I've seen, and just very imposing, very warlike, very, very, very chief-like. Very matter of fact, as if that's that Naga. Like that. It wasn't no question. No question about it. And he had two faces. Everybody else, when I pierced and looked at them, they averted their eye, they bowed their face, averted it. Some of them gave it freely. There was this remark that was made that struck me, kind of stinging, but what was I to do? I mean, it had truth to it. And as I was pulling, decloaking whatever being or whatever craft that I had the choice to decloak, I heard it was in my spirit. It was just imparted to me. How is he a king? How is he a king? He's a slave. How is he a king? He's a slave. And yes, dumb, but let me finish with the story. I gotta get off the train. When inquiring into the name of the supposed character to myself, the name Marduk came right into my consciousness. The asking or inquiring to myself coming the way of asking something to the speech the writers and immediately having a voice in my conscience saying, you don't know them and they don't know you. Why would you trust any answer they give you? Your intuition is the reason you are in the position. You are in this position. And all you need to go forward in strength and certainty. I forgot. That was it to me. Hold on, let me read that again. That was nice. Your intuition is the reason you are in this position. And all you need to go forward in strength and certainty. Bookmark that. In the earlier part of the day, the Anakim appeared of a lighter and iridescent clouding, which later turned to a dark gray soot cloudy covering, which was more difficult to a degree to decloak. Even though I was able to decloak it with focus and intent, it seemed as if the dark gray clouds developed the ability to recloak themselves, sometimes sometimes having a melee, a back and forth, a couple of times before they became decloaked. So as the day went forward, there's damn mosquitoes in there. As the day went forward, the clouds had a real iridescent look to them, a real luminous look to them, right? But you're talking about from early on to the day, as the day goes on and goes on. But the clouds became grayer, and it wasn't like it was about to rain. It just became grayer, like it was getting heavier, right? But as they got grayer, they got heavier. It was harder to decloak. That's just something that I noticed. And then it was easier at first. They couldn't. As soon as I wanted to decloak something, it was decloaked. As they became heavier and grayer like that, it was harder to decloak, and they could actually go back and forth with me. Goddamn mosquitoes. They could actually go back and forth with me. They could actually go back and forth with me, and holding that cloaking in place. As the day went on, the sky was covered with the dirty gray soot clouds, which looked like a weathered evening to humans' eyes. But as I made way to part the crane for the evening, the sun burst through in spectacular fashion to irrelevance of a circular cloud craft and large, massive mother cloud crafts with 20 minutes or so before clock out. Okay, so let me just repeat that. As the day went on, the sky was covered with dirty gray soot cloud crafts, which looked like a weathered evening to the regular person's eyes, right? So if anybody else was looking, it just looked like the sky was filled with big gray clouds, right? But they weren't big gray clouds. But as I made way to park the crane for the evening, the sun burst through in spectacular fashion to a relevance of a circular cloud crafts and large, massive mother cloud crafts. With 20 minutes or so before clock out, I decided to sun gaze in the brilliance of the sun's radiant essence. After about 8 to 10 minutes, the sun became covered by what appeared to be a matting of clouds of some sort, with a smoking elder in some creature or mechanical driven chair apparatus. He looked directly at me when doing this, as if to gloat about being able to hinder or stop my charge up. So that shit was crazy, right? It's the end of the day. They got the gray clouds everywhere, and all of a sudden the sun just burst through. Bam! When the sun burst through, they couldn't hide anymore. I don't know if they was trying to, but they couldn't. But so I parked my crane, and when the sun came through, I've been gifted to see the heavens all day long in the summer. I'm charging up. So I found my little spot, and I'm like sun gazing. It's like 4 or 5 in the evening, so it's the perfect time to gaze. I'm charging up. I know what that sun is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've actually felt this thing reaching into my head and massaging it. Like, it's the best, almost comparable to sex. I don't know if anybody ever felt this, but my God, that's like, what? But anyway, I'm charging up, and goddamn, I'm charging up, and this elder being with had a pipe in his, he moves these mats of clouds, not cloud craft. He moved these mats of clouds into my view to obstruct me from looking at these clouds. But when he did that, right, let me continue the story. And we'll come back, right? All right. So he looked directly at me when doing this, as if to gloat about being able to hinder or stop my charge up. The cloud coverage makeup of the elder was that of a web type of look, with more of the same type of cloud coverage on what appeared to be a robotic dragon century, which increasingly drew my intentions and focus to only get covered just as quickly in dirty gray soot clouds. I believe this was also the elders' work. I noticed that my intent could not move the regular cloud obstructions. I came to the conclusion that I just happened by drawing of my spirit to that locale to be able to witness this movement and migration of the elders and ancient ones. But as I gave it thought and my intention, a voice reminded me that the slow passing and convergence of the Anakim was very similar to something that happened in a club in Meridian, Mississippi, in which I felt and called a crowning. I now know the Anakim movement and migration was another crowning. Alright, that's so later that day I'm charging up and this elder, he moves smoking this thing. He's in like this chair apparatus, I don't know, look like a creature, and he's moves up matting of clouds over the sun. But right before he did that, man, I tell you, man, we don't, our science, our imagination, the shit that they show us inside, they stealing this shit from somewhere. They stole it because they, so it's like 3 robotic sentries, but they're dragons. They have a dragon, but they're dragon, it's hard to, it's like, but they're dragon robots. It's crazy, but I'm seeing them. I'm seeing the outline. It's like an anime, right? It's like the anime robots or some shit like, that's what that shit look like. That's what that shit look like, right? But I'm seeing it and I'm like, what the? And so I'm like, cause I'm decloaking it, but I'm like in awe at the same time. Like, what in the, like, am I seeing this shit? Like, is that what that shit is? Am I seeing fucking robot dragons? What the fuck, man? And so just as fast as I saw it, that elder nigga that was smoking that shit, he came and like covered that shit up. Like, no. It was like I had pierced into like a fucking secret fucking holding or something. But so I didn't even write this down. So later that day, I'm leaving work and it's crazy, man. I'm going home, man. I'm just fucking mind blown, right? Like fucking. And man, it comes across the sky and it's like, first it's like, what the fuck is that? And it's like, it's almost like it's glass. It's glass, but the way it's moving, it's like a bunch of geometric like fucking patterns moving, but it's moving like a surfing, like a fucking dragon across the sky. But it's clear. It's like it's mirroring the clouds, but I can see it. And it comes and it just comes right across my, as if to say, yes, Michael. Yes, Michael. Woo. That shit, man, like. Yeah. We don't have a clue. You know, shoot me an email or whatever, man. Text, however you want to do that, and we could just run it. Mama, look what I learned. My name is Michael. Be blessed while being a blessing. I'm out, man. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace, love, and light.